Welcome to the Contrarians, and tonight we are live and it's Wednesday. The topic tonight, album titles that sound nothing like the music. Chat room's open, we want to hear from you, so let's get started. Hey, welcome to the Contrarians. We are live. Nice to see everybody here tonight. We've got Todd Evans, Jamie Laszlo, and Martin and myself, and we are going to talk about album titles that sound nothing like the music. So you look at an album, like the Queen record, that's an example. Queen jazz? Is there jazz on this record? Though someone here may talk about it, but I don't detect any jazz. So we know what we're talking about. I want to welcome everybody that's here in the chat. We do want to hear from you, and we will try to get to your comments as we can. Because, you know, things start get rolling, we'll try to get to them as we can. So anyway, tonight, I think I'm going to start out with Martin, since I see him to my right. We're going to go Martin, Jamie, Todd, and then myself, and we're going to go three at a time, and then four at a time. And we're just going to go right through our list. And like I said, I want to hear from you. Martin, take it away.
All right. Well, welcome, everybody. We had an alternate title to this, which is albums that don't sound like their titles. So it's the same kind of thing. And I think we we still have one of these to go next week, right? One that's similar. I think so, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the alternate. That's right. So basically, and we've done a couple semi-similar to this, but as Grant has mentioned, you know, jazz is a good example. Where's my little honorable mention here that oh yeah, just because it was Queen, it's like there's this one as well. This isn't one of my picks, but Queen the Miracle. This is no miracle. It's a miracle. It's as bad as it is.
It's a miracle they produce something. I don't know.
So that's the kind of deal. So yeah. So into my first pick here. So albums that don't sound like their titles. I'm going to go with The Damned, because you always got to talk about The Damned, right? So there's this album, and it's actually called Strawberries. They put the title on the back because they probably think it didn't sound like strawberries either. I don't think you can even get strawberries in the UK, right? Isn't that, am I right? There's no fruit there. There's no vegetables, right? But anyways, they found some. They must have gone to France to get this pig to trample these strawberries here. And we've got the autographs on there with Captain signing it. Dave signed it. Captain won't eat me. No, Captain signed it. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, so this does not sound like a nice, bright, fragrant fruit at all. This is like, you know, good, awesome. This is one of the greatest albums of all time. It's just sort of like a good kind of dark, scrappy, post-punky, new wave punk kind of thing, but it definitely doesn't sound anything like Strawberries. Of course, there's a strawberry right on top there as well. My second choice is Nazareth Rampant. So, you know, you'd think this would be a big, heavy album with, you know, it actually does sound like the cover. It doesn't sound like the title at all. But it's just your typical Nazareth album with a couple of heavy songs, Shanghai and Shanghai, Silver Dollar Forger, or whatever. Glad to Be Gone, I think, is on here as well. But yeah, definitely doesn't sound that heavy. And I don't have a lot of cheats to cheat in this time, but I thought I'd just bring out some other Nazareth here. We got Malice in Wonderland. There's no Wonderland on here. This is not Prague. There's no Malice on here. It's just nice Skunk Baker, Skunk Baxter, whatever his name is, produced. He did the second one as well from the Doobie Brothers, right? But yeah, it's just kind of a poppy Nazareth album. Great album cover. It certainly does not sound like the album cover either, but it doesn't sound like the title. And I thought I'd just bring out Expect No Mercy as well, which is, again, it's about as heavy as Rampant. Expect No Mercy. There's no crazy heavy metalness to this, you know, with the guy. Of course, the joke is always that if this guy brought down that sword, his arms would run right into the horns on his head there. Right? So it's an improbable Frazetta there that he did. So that was my second choice. My third choice is let's see, where is it here? My third choice is another band I always wanted an excuse to talk about. Magazine, love them to death. So Grant's got up there. This is kind of interesting. That's the UK copy called The Correct Use of Soap. And obviously, you don't make
Oh.
records out of soap, and you can't wash yourself with a magazine.
Mhm.
In fact, if you washed yourself with a magazine record, you'd come out much more soiled. Because it's a pretty corrupt and dark band. But anyways, yeah, in the UK they called it the correct use of soap, but in Canada they called it an alternative use of soap.
No, okay.
Which is kind of bizarre, and it's not that either. It's not an alternative use of soap either. So there you go. Magazine gets a double in there with the UK and the North American, and that's my 3. Let's have a quick look at the comments and see who's got. Let's see, Marlon Hill has brought, or no, Hagen. Yeah, he's got Dan Gaucher, Deliver Us from Evil by Budgie, Camel Nude. We've got Green Day, Dookie. Let's see, ZZ Top, Tejas. Oh, it sounds like Tejas. I think that one. Judas Priest, Ram It Down. Kind of does sound like Ram It Down. It's pretty heavy. So I think that one does. Joy Division, Unknown Pleasures. Yeah, it's unknown. It's definitely not pleasurable. That's for sure. Stooges, Funhouse. Yeah, that is not a fun album either. That's a very dirty album. Beatles, White Album. Yeah, interesting. A Return to Forever, Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy, Judas Priest, Stained Class. Yeah, lots of Nazareth albums couldn't fit. Tom Jones, The Lead and How to Swing It. Did my man go metal? Says P Jones. Let's see. Let's Love Beaches in here. Metal Church, Hanging in the Balance. That's more an album cover one, right? We don't. Who knows about the title? Beatles, Revolver. Yeah, good one as well. So, all right, over to Jamie.
All right, cool.
All right. When I started getting this list together, I found it very difficult to get my 10 together. So I wanted to rush and get it submitted before anyone else, so no one stole Queen Jazz from me. Then I would have to think of an 11th.
But it's such a great choice. I couldn't help but use it.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing. I just want to give my perspective on some of these. A lot of these have fooled me growing up. And I was a greatest hits Queen guy for a while, going into the 90s, like Housewives are today. Greatest hits guy. And I thought maybe Queen's a quirky band. Maybe they did a jazz album. I had no idea. And then when I finally started digging into their albums and the deep cuts, I was like, oh, it's just a Queen album. There's no jazz on this. I mean, it's got Fat Bottom Girls on it, for crying out loud. It's just a Queen album. So yes, I actually did think though that maybe they did a jazz album.
Jamie, one reason they called it jazz.
Why?
They went to the Montrose Jazz Festival while they were recording that album at Montreux.
Oh, okay.
Or whatever. So yeah, they were inspired a bit by that whole going to the jazz festival thing.
And the last song is more of that jazz, and it's not jazzy at all.
No. It's great though. It's an awesome song.
It's great. I love that song.
Yeah.
There's another one that fooled me. When we were like young teenagers and we're hanging out listening to music, and we found out that Jefferson Airplane had an album called The Worst of Jefferson Airplane. We said, did they really get their worst song, what they feel is their worst songs, together and put it on an album? I don't know. Maybe they did. And then we would go to the record store, and I said, oh, this is just the greatest hits. They're just being funny. This is not the worst of Jefferson Airplane. It's the best of Jefferson Airplane. Ha, ha, ha. What is this, 1970? They were just being a little funny. Yeah. And my next one is, I don't own. I used to own back in the day on cassette. Pink Floyd, a collection of great dance songs.
Right.
Now, look, you can try to dance to Pink Floyd. I guess you can. Look, one of these days when I was a teenager, I used to wake up and my mom had my metal CD out, and she was doing her little aerobics to One of These Days on the floor.
Really?
So maybe you can dance to Pink Floyd. But it's not a collection of great dance songs. It's just Pink Floyd songs. They did re-record Money for that because I don't think they could get the rights for it or something. So you get it's worth having, I guess, if you're a completist, to get the different version of Money. But
I mean, didn't that originally come out on Columbia, right? When they were.
This album did, yeah.
I wonder why they re-recorded Money though. It just seems
because it was on Capitol.
It was on a different record label.
Yeah, I guess I would do it. Yeah,
but you look at that and you think maybe you're getting a Muzak version of Pink Floyd songs.
It does look like that.
You know?
It almost looks like they're making fun of it. It's like, well, the record company wanted a best of, but
Mhm.
we don't want to put a best of out, so we'll just call it
Right.
what.
Right.
Just poking fun at it.
Oh, and I skipped one by mistake. Another one I don't know.
I know, that's okay.
I'll come back to it.
You can come back to it. All right, Todd Evans.
So I think on still talking about that Pink Floyd album, I think that there are some bands that pick ironic titles for albums on purpose, try to be funny. And I've got one of those. I saved it for last because it's a great example of that. But I'm going to start with something I mentioned in the last show, and that's REM New Adventures in Hi-Fi. Mm-hmm. This record is I think they called it New Adventures because they recorded the songs in arenas at sound checks, which is really a terrible idea in my opinion. But it's a really eclectic album. It's all over the place. There's heavy glam rock on it. The Wake Up Bomb. It's got Patti Smith singing on it. Most of the songs don't sound like this picture, and they certainly don't sound like an adventure or in hi-fi. Some of them are even kind of lo-fi. I'm going to give a shout out to somebody who commented on Martin's History in 5 Songs Facebook group. His name is Nick Braddis. He brought up this album, and he mentioned the song Leave that starts with like a synth that sounds like a siren, and the siren goes all the way through it. And that particular song was recorded in the Omni in Atlanta, which is like a terrible arena that they've torn down with terrible sound quality, with terrible acoustics. And so why they called this New Adventures in Hi-Fi, I have no idea.
I don't know.
But there's that one. And now I'm going to go to the Smiths' Louder Than Bombs. This is kind of obvious. The Smiths are a good band, and they've got some noisy songs, and there are some on this album, but this is basically a compilation of a lot of different tracks that were on EPs and that were released on singles. And in the States, it's an album because the stuff didn't come out in the United States. It was all British singles and B-sides and stuff like that. So it's kind of an album for us in the States, but Louder Than Bombs, it's not. And on the topic of bombs, U2, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. I hate this title because I know it's not about me, but I hate titles that have more than 3 or 4 words in them. Yeah. I like, this is more of a rock album than they had been doing, prior to this. And so in that case, maybe the title has something to do with it. But I mean, full disclosure, this is my favorite U2 album. Mm-hmm. I adore it, but I'm not sure why they called it How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. It certainly doesn't sound like that.
And there's no instructions in there on how to do that.
No diagrams at all either. So
it doesn't even give you like a reading list to, explore on your own time.
Yeah, we looked at that on Ryan Gavalier's channel a year ago, and I was surprised how good a record it was. By this time I had disregarded you.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong record. I hate the title.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the comments here. We've got D Rockers mentioned Pink Floyd, Adam Hart, Mother. Although it sounds messy and weird like that, I guess. Doors LA Woman, it's by some dudes. Perubu, the modern dance. There's definitely no dancing to Perubu either. I can tell you that. Throbbing Gristle, here's a good one, says Trimbot. 20 jazz funk greats, absolutely perfectly mistitled, as Trimbot says. Excellent. Kick-Axe Vices, I don't know. I guess so. Let's see what else we got here. Crocus the Blitz, not much of a blitz. Montrose Paper Money, sadly you don't get any money in it, and it didn't make any money either. Sister Come Out and Play, you wouldn't want to come out and play with that record. Wild Cherry, looks like a rock LP, but it's funk. Vanilla Fudge, rock and roll, you're right. Not much rock and roll on that. Iron Butterfly Heavy wasn't really, although it is kind of one of their heavier ones.
It's kind of heavy.
See, for the time.
We'll
leave
it to you whether you Aldenova is part of your fantasies. Steely Dan, Katie Lied, Steely Dan, Gaucho. Doesn't sound like ZZ Top Tejas, I suppose. Rocks and Music, Country Life. All right, over to Grant.
Cool. All right, here we go. Let's see, ladies and gentlemen. All right. My first one, I didn't really rank these. I just kind of compiled them, but I'm going to go with the album from the Cramps, the songs the Lord taught us from 1980. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I can guarantee you the Lord did not teach them these songs. I can guarantee you this is not a religious record. I don't really have to say anything much about it. But we know Jesus had nothing to do with it.
Great choice.
My number 2 was mentioned. The Throbbing Gristle, 20 jazz funk greats.
Yeah.
Now, this is an industrial band, and it looks like they're hanging out in 1967, getting ready to pick some flowers and shove them in the in a shotgun or something. I'm just saying.
It doesn't look like a funk record either.
No,
it's brilliant.
That's literally the winner probably of the whole evening, right?
Yeah.
It is industrial. So that has to be the winner. What can beat it?
Yeah.
My number 3, I'm going to go with Beck Mellow Gold. And, you know, when you have the title Mellow Gold, you're kind of think of something like maybe 1970s yacht rock or something. Yeah. You don't have any of that here. And
on that front, remember to catch Grant and Pete doing a Pablo Cruz ranking. Yeah. That's up now, right?
Speaking of Mellow Gold.
Yep. Players up next, ladies and gentlemen. So brace yourselves.
Nice.
So anyway, Beck Mellow Gold. I thought, well, that doesn't fit the concept of this record at all. So there's my 3.
Okay, so my next 3, I went with Motorhead, Another Perfect Day. And of course, you know, some people might think Motorhead sounds like the perfect kind of music, but I mean, it's pretty loud and cranky and, you know, distortion on everything. It's definitely not Another Perfect Day. And then even old Snaggletooth here isn't having a particularly good day. He seems to be caught in some sort of like he's in a food compactor or something. So Snaggletooth isn't happy, and Motorhead on the back, they aren't happy either. So it's definitely not a perfect day there. And of course, this has got, where is it here? Yeah, back at the Funny Farm, which is not a comedy song either. So yeah, it goes right off into Marching Off to War is what this album sounds like. So that's on here. But and Dancing on Your Grave and Die You Bastard and Tales of Glory. So that's all sounds like Motorhead. But Another Perfect Day is just kind of a funny title for them. And we've got Yes Union. Which was anything but a union. You know, this is basically everybody's fighting like cats and dogs. Everybody wants to be louder than everybody else and got their own producers and managers. And this was a big mess of an album. And I thought a nice cheat would be to bring out Black Crowes' Southern Harmony and Musical Companion. These guys are not in harmony and they're not companions. So that's kind of the same as Yes Union. And then I've got one that I always like to talk about. I did an entire podcast episode on the strange story of Ram Jam. The story of this album is this and the first album, you got to hear it to believe it. It's just the most bizarre band story of all time. But yeah, doesn't sound like its cover or its title, Portrait of the Artist as a Young Ram. So it's got the obvious James Joyce thing to it. It's just a super scrappy, heavy album, very heavy for 1978. There's the guys on the back. They don't look like a heavy band, but yeah, it's a very heavy album. The first album doesn't look like its title either, Ram Jam, although it's kind of like, as I call it, Buffalo Burger rock. It's kind of like heavy BTO. So I guess it's kind of Ram Jam, but that's my third one.
And that episode you're talking about, Martin, that turned me onto this record.
Okay.
And I bought the Rock Candy reissue.
Yeah.
Because the way you were talking about it. And if anybody's even wants to even look at Ram Jam, don't think of Black Betty, because there's anything like Black Betty on here.
No.
But it's quite a record. I'd recommend, people should check it out. It's very kind of obscure at this point. So yeah.
Hang on, just before we go over to Jamie, let's just see. Marlon Hill has brought up UFO, No Heavy Petting. Dan Gaucher has got Scorpions, Lonesome Crow. Rodney Matthews cover. I forgot that was Rodney. Is it Rodney? Okay. Joe Walsh, Got Any Gum? Jennifer Love Hewitt, Let's Go Bang. Replacements.
What?
Hootenanny. Yeah, they've got a live album called The Shits Hit the Fans too, right? Which is pretty funny. Iron Maiden, Final Frontier was not their final album. Black Crowes, Amorica. Rush, Test for Echo. We got Van Halen, Balance. Yeah, there wasn't much balance there. Let's see, the Jam, Sound Effects, which is just a standard Jam album. It doesn't sound like sound effects. Opeth, Orchid, and Morning Rise. Yeah, exactly. They definitely don't sound like that. ZZ Top, Antenna. The Who, It's Hard. Yeah, definitely.
It's not hard. That's true.
No. All right, over to Jamie.
Oh, I love it.
Okay. Going back now to Chris Cornell and
Okay.
Scream. I could have used this in our album covers that don't sound like the music as well. I am a big Soundgarden fan. I have all Chris Cornell's solo albums, but I don't have that one. But when it first came out, I'm like, I love it when Chris Cornell screams and he's got the guitar. This is going to rock. And then I found out produced by Timbaland. I was like, well, maybe Timbaland just helped him out a little bit. It still rocks, though. No, this album does not rock. He's not screaming. It's unlistenable. It's awful pop music. I like pop music, but this is awful pop music. Yes,
I've never even seen this record
because he refuses to use it. That's why, I think. So yes, get that out of here. Scream. Another band I like and an album I hate is I love Witchcraft. You know, they're like this Sabbathy little stripped down Sabbathy kind of band, you know, occult rock, stoner rock, whatever. And a few years ago, they released black metal. And I'm like, Witchcraft is going to do black metal? I'm sure it's not going to be black metal, but I bet you they just get a little heavier. No, it's the lead singer, Magus, what's his name? Magus Pilander. And he's sitting there with an acoustic guitar whining. It's like the songs, he's making them up as he goes along, and he's just complaining for about 33 minutes. I listened to it once in my whole life, and I will never listen to it again. It's just whiny folk music. Unlistenable.
Wow.
And then I'm going to go with Sugar. Now, I got Sugar Copper Blue when it came out in 92 or something. I thought it was really, really good record, Bob Mould. So when the next record came out, it said file under easy listening. And I'm like, Bob Mould's a weird guy. But here's the thing. I thought maybe they were doing an easy listening album. And I remember working in a record store, and Steve Earle, Copperhead Road, came out. And he did a previous album called Guitar Town, which was pretty much a country record. This one was being sold, and the song Copperhead Road was being played on rock radio, and there was a hype sticker on it for us people working in record stores, and it said file under rock. So we would know, oh, now he's going under rock. I thought they were putting the hype sticker right in the title of the album just to let you know, file under easy listening. Yeah. So, but I got it, and it's even darker than Carpet Blue. It still has those pop sensibilities and that crunchy guitar, but it's Sugar. It's pop.
Most of the ones that I've seen have been filed under the cheapy bin in the dollar section.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah.
People must have misread it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes. Was not a big seller.
No.
Yeah. Cool. All right, over to Todd.
All right.
Okay. Well, this one's probably going to be controversial because I think there are probably people that could argue that this actually does sound like its title, but it's Frank Zappa's and the Mothers of Invention, Weasels Rip My Flesh. Now, there are some things on this record that are frantic and noisy. And I mean, it starts out kind of frantic, and the title track is just, 2 minutes and 8 seconds of just noise. So, I mean, that kind of counts, but there's a lot of jazz on this, jazz influence stuff on this album. There's one song that sounds like a country song. So, I mean, I don't know how you title Frank Zappa albums. So I imagine that would always be a challenge, but I went with it anyway. And then my next one, this one right here, I almost hate to mention this, Heaven and Earth. Okay. So first off, look at the cover. Cover's beautiful. Look at it's just, oh my gosh, it's going to be a really, really beautiful Yes album. No, not really. It's pretty weak from start to finish. It does not deal with any topics like heaven and earth. It doesn't, it's not a concept album about spirituality or anything like that. And so, yeah, I mean, this album is a disappointment in a lot of ways, but I think it's a great title and a great cover. And I thought it was going to be a great album, and it turned out not to be. So my next one is a band that is pretty obscure. I was wondering if Grant was going to be able to find the cover to this.
It was difficult.
This is the Canadian power pop band, the Supers. And this is their second album, Mystery on Pop Mountain. Now, their first album was called Speclaying, and it actually does sound like that. And it's got these really kind of cool cartoon graphics on it. And this album is a power pop masterpiece. It absolutely is. So when Mystery on Pop Mountain came out, I thought, well, this is going to be really cool. It's got this cover and this title that kind of suggests that it's going to be a concept album, and I was really excited about it. No, I think they ran out of money, and this is like a couple of new songs and some acoustic versions of some of their older songs, and a cover of Aha's "Take on Me," and they arrange it in a way that it's not like a compilation or a B-sides collection. They try to pass it off as a real album, and it's really not. But man, that cover's great. I was really excited about that.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
It looks like a Nancy Drew book, even on the side here. It looks like very well done.
Cool.
And based on what I could tell, that they only put out those 2 records.
That's it. Yeah.
Wow. I got to check that out. Yeah. All right. Over to the comments. What do we got here? We've got Monster by Steppenwolf looks heavier than it is, says Logan Collins. Absolutely. The Fool's Heavy Mental. Yeah, we all thought that was a heavy metal album. It looks heavy too. The letters are really huge on it, right? Steppenwolf, Hour of the Wolf looks heavy too. Yeah, exactly. Teardrop Explodes. Kilimanjaro is not Tanzanian mountain music. Let's see. Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell 2. Yeah, those are, title and cover on the Meatloaf ones, as we talked last time. Foghats, Girls to Chat and Boys to Bounce. Yeah, it sounds a little bouncy new wave, I suppose. I don't know. Let's see. Coven Destroys Minds and Reaps Souls. Exactly. That's a very light album. It doesn't sound like it's on a satanic rampage of any sort. Jellyfish Belly Buttons, Steppenwolf Skullduggery. Yeah. Demon Praying Mantis covers. Well, that's covers there. Let's see. Bauhaus Mask. Let's see. Rand Loves It, which is that. Abominog looks crazy. Yeah, it doesn't sound like the cover or the title on that one. Kiss Unmasked. You're right. They didn't unmask. So that's true too. And Brain Salad Surgery. Yeah, that's definitely it's a long playing record. It is not surgery. Let's see. Frank Zappa, Jazz from Hell. And, that's more Angel Dust. Yeah. Well, that does sound a little bit like Angel Dust. That album. That was a little bit shocking. That one. All right, over to Grant.
Cool. All right. Oh, let's see. Okay, Grant. Okay. Oh boy. Here's one for you. This I'm going to go with John and Yoko, Unfinished Music #1, Two Virgins from 1968. There is no music on here, and we know that John and Yoko aren't virgins. So that I'm going to leave it at that.
Right.
The other one I'm going to pick is Kiss Alive, because we know there's nothing alive on here.
Right.
Peter Chris's drums, that's it. Does that count?
Well, it's not called live. It's called alive, and they were alive when they recorded it.
Hey,
good point.
True. Yes.
Whatever.
Very alive.
You know what they're pushing, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go with Mr. Bungle, California from 1999. Now, this looks very California, like it should be laid back. But Mr. Bungle is darn near, when I listen to it, it pretty much sounds like noise. So if you're looking at this thinking, hey, a nice California record, you're not going to get it here, folks.
By the way, catch Grant and Pete Pardo ranking the Pablo Cruz albums.
That's true. I don't know why you keep bringing that up, but
you keep bringing up California.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, at least Pablo Cruz sounds California.
I don't even know where they're from. Where are they from, Pablo Cruz? Are they?
Wait a minute. I think they are California.
Probably from offshore somewhere.
I don't
just live on a boat.
I thought that was the name of a person up till a year ago.
They're probably tax exiles. They probably live in Jersey.
Probably. So anyway, Mr. Bungle looks California, but it's hardly that at all. So
okay. All right. So final four. My first one is Guns N' Roses, The Spaghetti Incident. So we've got. I read the story for the first time. I didn't even know this, but it was either Duff or Steven Adler or something. Something about there was a bust, and one of them kept their drugs in the little spaghetti, clamshell thing in the fridge to hide them. And so they have this inside joke about the spaghetti incident, but that's no reason to name a covers album that. And then put quotes around spaghetti incident and then a question mark. I mean, it's not a question. So it's just the entire thing is just annoying, right? It doesn't sound anything like that at all for a covers album. It's a good, solid covers album, right? It's well put together. Everything sounds very cohesive on it and stuff. Okay, so my next one is Jethro Tull, Thick as a Brick. It's a very smart album. It is not thick as a brick. But yeah, that's sort of the irony of the whole thing. It's about a guy that's possibly thick as a brick, and the music is not thick as a brick at all either. It's very light in the loafers. It sounds like the Smiths basically. This album, but yeah, it's not thick as a brick in any way, and that's even a pretty blunt title for a really fancy pants concept album too. It's just very shocking sort of title, but great title, great album. Might even be my famous or my favorite. Although I do like Songs from the Wood as well. Okay, my next one is Uriah Heep Conquest. So here they are. They've named the album Conquest. They're taking on the world. This is going to be their most successful album. This is the album out of the entire 25 album catalog that is most forgotten and most never talked about. And it's just an unpleasant memory for everybody. It's just a really horrible, horrible album. So it doesn't look like its cover, and it definitely doesn't look like its title. And then my last choice is Rolling Stones, their Satanic Majesty's Request. This is just a standard psych album, famously, taken off on Sgt. Pepper. But I love it. I've always loved this album. I've never had a problem with it at all. But it's definitely not a satanic album, and this band is not very satanic, although they have their reasons that you might consider them dabbling in the dark stuff. But yeah, so that's my last one. And just take a quick look at the comments here. We got Police Zenyatta Mondata. It sounds a little bit like Bouncy Police. To me, that's their poppiest album. Yes, 90125. Yeah, that's, I guess it doesn't sound as impersonal as that. Tin Machine, George Thorogood, Bad to the Bone. I guess Mirko's saying he's not that bad to the bone. Let's see. Guns N' Roses, The Illusions fit here. I don't know if he's referring to Guns N' Roses there. Nirvana, In Utero. Lou Reed, Metal Machine Music. That's an interesting one.
I was thinking about it.
I don't know. That's what it sounds like to me.
It doesn't sound like metal music. It sounds like Metal Machine music.
My God, Dan Gaucher has mentioned Hammersmith. It's for you. I thought I'm the only one who knows about that album. I've actually showed that on a show. I think it was on Pete's show. Wow, that's interesting. That you know them. Olivia Newton-John, Rip the Head Off a Donkey. Is that true? Does she have an album? No, gotta be a joke. Let's see. And so that's it up there. What else we got down here? New York Dolls, Paris Burning. Is that like a boot thing? New Order, Power, Corruption, and Lies. A Material Issue, Freak City soundtrack. Let's see. Mr. Bungle Called It California because they formed in my hometown of Eureka, California.
Oh, is that Rand?
Yes, it is Rand.
I knew it. I knew it. I can't find it, but I knew it was Rand.
All right, over to Jamie for your final four.
All right. Hey, it's been a long time since I listened to this. You guys tell me, Paid in Metal? Is this very metal?
I've never even seen that.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's before they got heavy at all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad somebody brought up Morning Rise and Orchid by Opeth, because I'm going to go the other way and go with Damnation by Opeth. Now, they did Deliverance. They recorded these albums, Deliverance and Damnation, at the same time. I think Damnation came out, 4 or 5 months later. Deliverance is heavy, really heavy. So Damnation, Damnation is going to be really heavy too, maybe heavier. It's not. It's like prog rock. I think they were influenced by Camel of all bands for that album. There is no riffing, no death metal thing, growls, nothing. My mom likes songs off this album. Wow. So, and there's a nice 1-2 pack. You get both of them in there, and 5.1 surround sound on both albums. I'm going to go now with little Tom Petty, Southern Accents. When this came out, you know, Petty always had that Americana thing working in his music, like Mellencamp. Yeah. And when Southern Accents came out, I'm like, maybe we're going to get like that Southern rock album that I always thought he kind of had in him, right? And then I heard Don't Come Around Here No More on the radio, and I hated that song. I really hated it. And I was like, that ain't Southern rock at all. And it's still not one of my favorite songs.
Oh, I like it.
It does have Rebels, which sounds almost Southern rock, but it's just a rock and roll song. The title track is a little country-ish, but it's got strings. Mostly it's just an 80s. It sounds like an 80s pop rock album. New wavy a little bit here and there. So yeah, you're not getting the Southern rock album you were hoping for. ZZ Top, La Futura. This was the last one I picked out too.
Yeah.
This one, when it first came out, I was like, uh-oh, old habits are hard to break. Are we going back to Afterburner? Are we going back to recycler days? Because when I hear anything like Future, I think keyboards right away. Mm-hmm. So I was like, uh-oh. They use keyboards very sparingly. I read the keyboards are there. I can barely hear them. This is just a really good down and dirty ZZ Top album. And I think it's a top tier ZZ Top album too. I love it. And it's like not as dirty as XXX, but in the same realm there. Same era of ZZ Top. Cool. My last one is Chris Rea, The Road to Hell. Now, when this album came out, I was working in a record store and we got the promo in and I didn't know who Chris Rea was. And I said, oh man, put this one in. It might be too heavy to play during while we're open, you know, because we couldn't play anything too heavy while there's customers in the store. So we put it on. And I was like, that ain't heavy at all, is it? But it's a great album. And you know what? The Road to Hell, the title track does have its darkest kind of a darkness to it, which is cool. And then I heard like years later the joke, hey, Chris Rea and Dire Straits, they should have went on tour together. They could have called it the Diarrhea Tour. One honorable mention. Songs for the Deaf, Queens of the Stone Age. I have played this album many times. It's louder than any one of my other albums. It's the same volume.
Nice. Very cool. Record. All right, over to Todd.
Okay. For the next one, I'm going to go with Todd Rundgren's Space Force. This record is duets and him working with other people, Adrian Belew, Rivers Cuomo, Neil Finn, Sparks, Rick Nielsen. It's kind of an interesting record, but there's nothing science fiction or spacey about it. I think he's making fun of the Space Force, which is, I mean, I suppose that's pretty make funnable.
No songs about penises.
No.
It kind of looks like
not that either.
Okay.
And then the next one, this one actually fooled me. This is the, when did this come out? Well, Grant's probably got it on the graphic.
2013.
This is Lloyd Cole's Standards. This is the first rock album that Lloyd Cole did in a long time. Mine's autographed because I'm kind of a fanboy. But he had been making acoustic records, and he went through this period where every time he did an interview, he said, I'm in my 50s, I've got to start making age-appropriate music. And so he finally decided to go out and make an album with a band. And I mean, Grant, you would like this album. Fred Mayer on drums, Matthew Sweet on bass.
Oh, yeah, Matt. He's playing on a lot of his stuff all the time.
Yeah. But this album, I thought this was going to be a covers album of like standards. I mean, you look at it, it kind of suggests that. Either that or a compilation, or maybe he's re-recorded his own songs that are standards. I'm not sure why he called it Standards. There's not a song on here called Standards, but I think that one's kind of a fake out. The next one is Prefab Sprout's album, Jordan the Comeback. This is a double album produced by Thomas Dolby. Really, really good art rock. Patty McAloon from Prefab Sprouts, kind of a genius. But I don't know why it's called Jordan the Comeback. Is that somebody's name, Jordan? Is that the country Jordan? And why is it called the Comeback? And
Maybe
they
it's
just put an album
Michael
up.
Jordan. I don't know.
Yeah, Michael Jordan. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what it is.
Is that really what it is?
I have no idea.
I don't know. There's nobody knows. But Patty McAloon is kind of was starting to get have a little trouble with his mental health around this time, and the next album that he was supposed to come out never came out because somebody told him, that's really good, you should take this one song. He had the next album that was supposed to come out, he played it for executives and for the band, and the executives were really excited about it, but one of the executives said to him, you've got this song called Earth, the Story So Far, you should do a whole album of that and like tell the story of the Earth. And he was like, oh, that's a really good idea. And that's what he did. He abandoned the album and he just kind of became kind of reclusive for a really long time. So maybe he knows why that's called Jordan the Comeback. Yeah. But my last one is They Might Be Giants. I like fun. Now, They Might Be Giants can be fun for sure. But this is a pretty dark album. The last song in this album is called Last Wave. And I'm going to read some of the lyrics. We live in terror, we're naked and alone, and the grave is the loneliest place. We die alone, we die afraid, we live in terror, and we're naked and alone, and the grave is the loneliest place. Okay, that's not very fun.
Is it kind of like swinging off of Flood?
I don't know, probably. I mean, it's a fantastic song. I mean, really great. Wave rolling by, final wave, don't ask why, there's a wave going by, don't ask why, final wave. Cool song, cool album, but yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely probably ironically named.
Yeah, nice, very cool. Let's just take a quick look at the comments. We got Metallica, Saint Anger. That's a pretty angry album, I suppose.
Angry.
Queen Jazz is the best example in my memory, says John Patterson. The Aerosmith album Done With Mirrors title always threw me off. Yeah, that's true. Let's see what else we got up here. Teenage Fan Club 13. I don't know. Does anybody know? Is that their 13th album? I don't know. No. Okay. Gentle Giant, The Missing Piece. Aerosmith, Just Push Play. Yeah, you don't want to push play on that one. That's for sure. Yes, The Ladder. Rush, Snakes and Arrows. It's not a game. It's a record. Quiet Riot, Condition Critical. Well, it kind of was. They were critical at that point. That was the end. Peter Frampton, I'm in You. There you go. That's a classic. Armageddon, self-titled, not heavy, but prog. It's actually pretty heavy for a prog album, though. So Ashley brings that one up. Elder of Rock, AC/DC Ballbreaker, not really. Yeah, absolutely. Bitch of Sin, Predator. Yeah, good point, Mirko. Gang of Four, Solid Gold. Yeah, that's a good one. No hits.
No hits.
Holy Racket. Yeah, that's actually a good one. That's actually a really good one.
That's a good record, but that's a good example.
Van Halen, Women and Children First. Elvis Presley, got you buy it for $1. Nice pick, Jamie. Michael is a huge Camel fan. Lynx, Sneak Attack. Here we go. Dan's bringing up the obscure Canadian stuff again. That's right. That is not a very heavy album at all. Even their first one was heavier. It's got a really heavy cover too. But yeah, they were not a very heavy band. But yeah, Danzig, Black Acid Devil, Primus, Pork Soda. Yeah, a lot of great examples here. Grant, on to you. Final four.
Here we go. My final four, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go with, someone mentioned Caravan. I don't know who it was, but I'm going to go with Caravan for Girls Who Grow Plump in the Night, which I understand what that kind of means, but I don't know what this has to do with a prog band. I'm sorry. Someone in the comments, help me out. I'm not following. I just find it very odd title. All right, so there you go. That was my number 7. My number 8, I'm going to go with Talking Heads, more songs about buildings and food. There are no songs on here about buildings or food.
Nice. Yeah. Great choice.
Yeah. And then we never talk enough Fiona Apple, so I'm going to go with this. Fetch the Bolt Cutters from 2020.
You know what I was thinking?
Jamie, you probably heard this record. What?
I was thinking of picking her long one with like 72 words in the title.
Oh, yeah.
But Fetch the Bolt Cutters. What does this mean?
Yeah. It's catchy. It's pretty cool.
Well, it looks like her eyes are going to pop out. I don't know what's going on. But my number 1, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go with this. The Ramones greatest hits from 2006. The Ramones never had any hits. They've never had a greatest hits. Their highest charting song was number 76, like off the first record.
Yeah.
They've never had hits.
Yeah.
Stupid.
That's why I
Ramones
always loved the Chili
hit.
Peppers when they named their album "What Hits," because they only had the one at the time.
This is dumb.
Yeah.
Plus, you don't want the Ramones on a greatest hits record. You want to listen to those Ramones albums as an album. I don't, whatever.
Who's the band that named that they named their greatest hits album, the name of the song, and then they said and some other songs?
Well, there's a Dream Theater album called like One Hit and some other songs or something like that. Yeah.
Just dumb. It's dumb.
Nice.
Time. Oh, we're going.
All right. Well, let's wrap her up.
All right. Hey, I want to thank everybody in the chat tonight. We got through a lot of them. You guys had a lot of great comments, great selections. Awesome. I want to thank Todd Evans and Jamie Laszlo tonight, and of course Martin and myself. We will be doing this next week. A similar topic, though. Maybe someone here. Do you guys remember what we're going to talk about?
I can't even remember what it is.
Album titles that don't look like the cover.
Album titles that don't look like the cover. Is that it?
That's what I thought we were doing.
Yeah, we got it in our notes somewhere, but
I don't know. But stay tuned.
I already started getting my list together.
Yeah, well, fast.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll be looking at that on Wednesday, 7:00 Eastern Standard Time, same time. So come back here, get your list ready, ladies and gentlemen. We want to hear from you. So if you'd like to be on these, we do have a Patreon. There's a lot of great content on there, a lot of interaction. You could be on one of these panels as well. We also have a Ko-fi. Buy us a cup of coffee or a pint. We love that. And we also like donations. We didn't get any donations today.
I'll give you 20 bucks.
We get 20 from Jamie, so that's good enough. But anyway, we just do this because we'd like to talk, and we'd love to hear from you in the comments section. This is so much fun. We just love to do it. So anyway, see you next week. We'll be here at 7. So be here and have your picks ready.
All right.
All right, everybody. We will see you.